up to this point, what we're actually basically going to do is, what we're actually doing to this point is actually to understand our data up to this point. You have to print it out. We have not started to do the data manipulation. So let's try to understand our data more and more. So I can come here and do what is called .info. I'm going to make use of a method info. This info is going to try to give us all the information concerning our data, whether if our data belongs to maybe an object, or the data belongs to what a float, a data belongs to an integer. So let's look at this. When I mean info, it's just going to give us all the information that our data present for us. When we look at this range index, it means that 5,000 entries, means that our total row here means 5,000. 5,000 is number, and the total column is 23 columns that we have here. And the next thing we actually look at is what is called those of the column. You can see this column, this is the number, this is whether if it's non-null counts, meaning that there's no null on it, and this one is the data type. So when we look at the first column, we have something called invoice ID, and the non-null is actually 5,000, meaning it is none of them is null. And then there's something called a data type object. This signifies that this is not a float, this is not actually an integer. This is like a mixture of some of them. Can be a string. If it is for our data, let me just open our distance. So okay, let me scroll here. I think we'll do something like that. Let's look at this, our invoice, which is our invoice ID. This is for this 00, and this is our invoice. Look at our invoice. This is a string. The INV is a string, and this is an integer, and this is a hyphen. You can see you're mainly looking at this. You can look at it, compare it to this guy, this glossary that is float, and this is float, and this is an integer. We know what float is. Float is all those numbers with a decimal point. While integers are those ones that does not have anything to do with decimal point. There's no decimal point, so they're like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no decimal point. Why that of float is those ones that 1.2, 0.10, sorry, 0.10, no, 0.1, 0.7. Those are like float. But when it comes to that of object is more like a mixture. Like if we look at this of our product, sorry, unit price, we can see that is a float. Our quantity, when you look at quantity, there's no quantity that is 2. Okay, maybe there might be. And this quantity you can signify that is an integer, 64. Don't think much about this 64. Just take the int and the float, and that of the date is also an object because a combination of mixture of other things. I also look at the down here. Look, he try to brief us down the proper way that this our conclusion of our data types. We have that inside of this of our data types, we have 5 columns that is float. I'll have 4 columns that is integer, and that have 14 columns that is that of the object. If we were to add all these things together, 14 plus 4, that should give us 18 plus 5, that is 22 in total. That's signified that is 22 colon, if I'm not mistaken. So that should be 23. Sorry, 5 plus that should be this 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So that should be 23. Sorry, and then look at the memory usage 898.6 plus kilobytes, and then that's all the information that we have as of now. But when we start working, this information is going to start to change, and then it might start looking ugly like the way we do not want it. But I don't want us to look at this info of a guy. We're still going to look at some of other ones. In the next video, we're going to look at what is actual series and data frame that we have been talking about, because in the way our data was being presented in this way is actually in a data frame format. It is being structured in a way we are going to be able to read it. If I was to run this our CSV file, to print this our CSV file make use of NumPy, I bet you are not going to understand what we're actually looking at. But with help of these pandas, it helps us to structure things in the best way possible for us. So I think this should be it for this video. Next, we are going to do product of series and pandas, so we can try to differentiate them and try to understand how they work. So I think this way, if you enjoy it, if you find it useful, subscribing will collect money from your pocket. So I'll be happy to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.